Hello and welcome to another video from Minus Touch Toys, Games, Collectibles. And today we're looking at something that's now quite old and becoming quite hard to find. And now really these figures are very collectible. We are looking at the 1995 release by Playmates from their Voyager Series 1 series of 5-inch action figures. And this particular figure we are looking at today is of Lieutenant Tom Paris, who was really the helmsman on the USS Voyager. Okay, so this is the card that the figure comes in. You can see at the very top it's got warning, choking hazards, small parts not for children under 3 years. It's got ages 4 and up. It says exclusive inaugural edition Playmates Skybox Collector Card. And you've got Star Trek Voyager, and there's an image of Voyager hurtling through space. And you can see you got the card there, the Skybox card. It says Lieutenant Tom Paris, Star Trek Voyager. And just to the right of the card is the action figure. And it says Lieutenant Tom Paris, Con Officer, USS Voyager. And it says... comes with Delta Quadrant Accessories, which is a Type 2B phaser, away team gear, personal access display device, the pad, and a compression phaser rifle. It says bonus, complete with Starfleet display base. And you've got the Playmates logo on the bottom left-hand corner. And on the bottom right-hand corner, it says assortment number 6480 and stock number 6483. Okay, so that is the front of the card. Now, before we have a good look at the figure itself, what I'd like to do is turn the card round and let's have a look at the back of the card. Okay, so I've turned the card around and this is what we've got printed on the back. So you can see at the top it says ages 4 and up, and you've got a image of Captain Janeway's inaugural card. It says exclusive inaugural edition Playmates Skybox Collector Card. Star Trek Voyager, and there's an image of the Voyager again, ship firing through space. It says, in an effort to rescue a band of marquee rebels, the Starfleet ship USS Voyager finds itself swept up in a strange and terrifying phenomenon which throws the ship into the far reaches of the galaxy, some 70,000 light years away. With no easy way home, some of Starfleet's finest officers and a handful of dedicated marquee rebels join forces aboard one of the most highly advanced starships ever built, the USS Voyager, to find a way back home. Join the Voyager crew for exciting new adventures as they go boldly to explore, study and investigate this unexplored region of space. And it says collect all of these Star Trek Voyager action figures. So you've got Captain Catherine Janeway, the Doctor, who's the emergency medical hologram, Commander Chakotay, Lieutenant Tuvok, Lieutenant Tom Paris, which is what this one is. Now you've got Kess the Acampa and Ensign Harry Kim. Well, those two were not released in the UK. So they would be the very, very collectible figures here in the UK. They were already available in the US, I know that. But in the UK, they weren't part of the figure assortment that we had available to us. Then you've got Neelix the Talaxian and Lieutenant B'Elanna Taurus. And it says Delta Quadrant Accessories. So you've got a Type 2B phaser, which is personal issue defense armament. I'm just going to bring the car forward a little bit so we can see this a little bit easier. Let's zoom in on the text that I'm actually reading at the moment. And we've got the away team gear, standard issue landing party equipment. You've got the personal access display device, the pad, handheld control and display terminal, and compression phaser rifle, long range phaser emergency audience. I can't read that one. That says, oh, emergency ordnance. Okay, and there's an image of Tom Paris, and it says it comes complete with his Starfleet display base. And you got an important note to collectors. Playmates Toys Inc. is proud to produce the ultimate in finely detailed, authentic action figures for the Star Trek series. We invest the necessary time to create a true likeness of each character, utilising a special moulding process. This allows us to offer final products which maintain the integrity of our original handcrafted models. And of course, all of our action figures are individually numbered for authenticity and collectability. Playmates appreciate the collectors' demand for quality and detail, and we will continue to create products that meets or exceeds these high standards. Okay, now let's come over to here where we've got the library computer and retrieval system, the Lucas, and USS Voyager NCC 74656, bridge officer biographical profile, subject. Let's just zoom in there a little bit more. Thomas Eugene Paris, species human, rank Lieutenant, Field Commission. Profile: Tom Paris, the son of Starfleet Admiral of a Starfleet Admiral, was destined for a brilliant career when he lied about the circumstances that led to the deaths of 3 fellow crew members. When Paris admitted his lie and his guilt, he was cashiered from Starfleet. From there, his life went into a spiral. He fell in with a Marquis and served briefly under Chakotay. But on his first Marquis mission, Paris was captured and sentenced to the Federation penal settlement in New Zealand on Earth. When Chakotay's ship disappeared with the undercover Tuvok, Captain Catherine Janeway sought out Paris for his knowledge of the Marquis. They also had a personal tie. Janeway had served as science officer under Paris's father years before. She offered a deal: help her find Tuvok and he could go free. Paris was pulled into the Delta Quadrant with the rest of the USS Voyager crew. Janeway gave Paris a second chance by granting him the field commission of lieutenant and assigning him to the Con. Lieutenant and a bit of a rogue. Irritant and a bit of a rogue, Paris created a holodeck hall where the officers relaxed off duty. For complete access, contact Federation Penal Settlement in Auckland, New Zealand, planet Earth. That writing is very difficult to read and very, very small. So there we are. Okay, so and then you've got the copyright and the licensing information just on the bottom here. Star Trek fan club information, the barcode, assortment numbers, Playmates logo, and the Star Trek logo on the bottom corner there. Okay, so that is the card. Pardon me for not being able to read it that clearly, but there we are. It's to do with the way the writing is, and it's in that computer written writing, which is not very clear on the back of these cards. Okay, let's turn the card back around now and have a good look at the figure itself. Okay, so I've turned the card back around. I've zoomed in on the facial features of the figure, and you can see an image of Tom Paris on the left-hand side on the trading card, and that's obviously portrayed by Robert Duncan McNeill, who played Tom Paris throughout the whole run of Star Trek Voyager. But for me, the facial features is not quite right, and I think that's probably down to the colour of the hair, because they haven't really got the hair colouring right. They've got him down as a blonde hair when he's really more of an auburn colour hair, which has really affected the face really. So I think the eyes they've got right, and perhaps the nose is almost there, and the mouth is probably about right, but I think it's the hair that is making it not look that much like Tom Paris himself, or Robert Duncan McNeill, who played Tom Paris in the television series. So a little bit disappointed with the with the facial sculpting. Well, not so much the facial, but I think it's down to the colour of the hair. I'm pretty certain that's why it doesn't look it doesn't resemble that closely to Tom Paris. But the rest of the figure is fantastic. So there he is. He's in his Star Trek Voyager uniform with the burgundy top, which was signal the command era, and his shirt underneath with the pips on the side of his collar. You can see he's got the Star Trek Voyager badge, the communicator badge on his shirt there. You can just see that there. I've just zoomed in on that so you can have a good look at it. And then moving down, you can see his hands, his legs and his shoes at the bottom there. Now obviously it comes with that card, which is the inaugural edition Playmates Skybox card, which is unique to this particular figure. So it's the only way you would get that Tom Paris card is to buy this figure. And if you just look underneath him, there's his accessories, the pad, the away team kit and the phaser. And if I turn it just to the back there, you can just see the phaser rifle in the back there, and just to the back, on the back of the card, you can see the stand, which you might see that better actually this side. There's the stand, the Voyager stand. Okay, so there we are. That's the figure. Now, unfortunately, as I said to you, this particular figure is still sealed in the packet, so I can't open it. However, I do have with me my trusty Captain Ben Sisko figure from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and he is dressed in Star Trek the original series uniform from the episode Trials and Tribulations. But the figures are pretty much all the same size, the same height, maybe a fraction difference in bulkiness, but the articulation is all the same. So my Ben Sisko figure, we're going to take measurements from him, and he is 12 centimeters, which is about 5 inches. And widest point, we're looking at 6 centimeters, and depth wise, we're looking at 2 centimeters. And Tom Paris is pretty much exactly the same size. Very little difference in the size. Okay, articulation wise, because there's some good articulation on these figures, I must say. So you've got the head turns, you can turn it all the way around if you like. You've got the shoulders, which move up and down, and then you've got the tops of the arms, which turn, and then you've got the elbow joints, which move backwards and forwards. So you don't need to be able to turn the hands because the arm turns. So that's a good articulation there, and you've got the same again on the other arm. Waist wise, well, you can turn the waist round. You can also raise the top of the leg in both directions on both legs, and then of course you've got the knee joint, which goes up and down on both again, but there's no movement of the feet. I'm afraid the feet are as they are. If you want to turn the feet, you're turning the whole waist. And of course on the bottom, as with all the Playmates figures, is the individual number. Okay, so that's all of the articulation and the sizes of the action figure. So how well did these figures do back in the day? Well, yeah, I mean, Star Trek Voyager was a massive franchise. It ran for 7 seasons. There was 172 episodes produced, and it aired between January 1995 and May 2001. I think the final episode aired on the 23rd of May 2001, which is when Voyager made it back to the Alpha Quadrant. So at that time also, Star Trek was a massive franchise. It was the biggest franchise in the world. So you had Star Trek The Next Generation, Star Trek Voyager, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, all are regular television. Well, Star Trek The Next Generation had actually finished the series, but there was reruns going on. But The Next Generation was also making movies at that time, so the movies that were scheduled to come out were all Star Trek Next Generation. Deep Space Nine was all still producing episodes on a weekly basis, and obviously you have reruns of the original series, plus the original movies were all being rerun on the satellite channels. So Star Trek was huge. There's massive following, and everybody wanted merchandise for Star Trek. And obviously, there wasn't a great deal of action figures available for Star Trek until Playmates picked up the license. Before Playmates, I think Gallup had a license for Star Trek Next Generation for a very short amount of time. But then other than that, then it went over to Playmates, and Playmates ran with the license for many, many years. And they produced some absolutely fantastic Star Trek figures at the time when we were crying out for Star Trek merchandise. They didn't just do figures, obviously they've done play sets and ships and so on. So there was a lot of merchandise that Playmates done. Very, very good quality and great merchandise, all themed on the certain series. So yes, the figures done very, very well. Sadly, out of all the whole set of the figures, as I said to you earlier, Kes of the Akampa and Harry Kim, for whatever strange reason, were not released into the UK. So all the cases that came out of Bandai, who were the importers of these figures from Playmates in the US, they just didn't appear in any of the cases. So in order for us to buy the Kes and Kim figures, we had to import them in from the US. Us and there was a few other companies like Forbidden Planet also did the same thing. They imported the figures in from the States. So we had to do that ourselves in order to get those figures for our customers, because they weren't available at the time. But there we are. So yeah, so the figures done very, very well. Do they come up very often nowadays? Well, they still do come up on the platforms, don't get me wrong, just not as frequently as they once did. Obviously, we're going back to 1995 now, so we're going back nearly 30 years, 29 years to be precise, since these figures were produced. So 30 years on, they are becoming harder and harder to find in this mint, unopened condition. You can pick loads of these figures up from flea markets and jumble sales and so on. And on the platforms if you want them open and loose, but they will be obviously missing the accessories and the trading card. They do, as I say, they do pop up from time to time complete like this on the platforms, but not very often. And you see the common figures more often than you do the rarer ones. The common ones being ones like Captain Janeway and Chakotay. They were really the popular figures because they were the main stars of the TV show. But some of the other ones like the Tom Paris, the Banana Taurus and the Holographic Doctor, they were less in the case, so there was less figures that were less of those that became available. Now, as I say, we're 25 years on, so they do pop up from time to time on platforms in this mint unused condition. However, we at Midas Touch have managed to find quite a few of these figures. We actually bought out a shop's stock that was closing down due to they actually couldn't make it work after COVID. They've been around since the 1960s. But unfortunately, they were getting on in years as well, decided that they really couldn't make things work after the COVID pandemic and decided to call it a day. And we were fortunate enough to be offered all of the stock, which we went in and we bought the lot. And there was a couple of cases of Voyager action figures that were sitting in the back storeroom that had never been sold, and they were still in an unopened case, and that's exactly what we got here. We've got the entire set of Voyager figures season 1 available, with the exception of Kes and Kim because they weren't released in the UK. But otherwise, all these figures are currently available on the Midas Touch website, which you can get to quite simply by clicking the link below. It will take you straight to the website where you'll be able to find this and many other vintage Star Trek items and many other vintage toys, games and collectibles. Come to that. There's over 10,000 products currently available on the website for you to view and purchase at your leisure. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because we're uploading videos for every new item that goes into the website. There will be something for everybody, and I'm absolutely positive that this is something you won't want to miss, because we literally have thousands and thousands of new products which we're shooting videos for and uploading on a daily basis. So if there's something in particular you're looking for, something old that you've never been able to find, something quirky you might want to buy for a friend, or perhaps just something from your childhood that you'd like to own again to help you recuperate those long lost childhood memories. Well, stay tuned, keep watching, because you never know, the next item we upload could be that item you've been looking for. Okay, that is it for me on this particular item. I do hope you've enjoyed reviewing this wonderful old action figure with me. Thank you for watching, and we will see you again next video. So bye for now.